Hi, I'm Hazley. I never thought I'd be sitting at my parents' dinner table for the last time at 22, but life has a way of surprising you. The fancy china was out, Mom's way of pretending everything was fine in the Miller household. Pass the potatoes, Hazley, Dad said without looking up from his plate. I slid the bowl across the table. I was thinking about my career plans. Not this again, he interrupted, jaw tensing. We've discussed this. Mom glanced nervously between us. Robert, maybe we could just listen. There's nothing to discuss, Margaret. Dad cut in. Hazley will join the family business as planned. I set my fork down carefully. Actually, I've been accepted to that architecture program I mentioned. Full scholarship. The silence lasted 3 seconds before Dad's fist hit the table. Absolutely not. We've invested too much in your future at Miller Enterprises. You've invested in your future, I replied, keeping my voice steady. I never wanted to work there. After everything we've done for you? Mom's voice quivered. The connections your father has made, the position he's created, a position I never asked for, I said. I want to build things, not manage spreadsheets for Dad's friends. Dad's face reddened. This is about that friend of yours, isn't it? Claire? Filling your head with nonsense about following your dreams? Claire supports me, unlike... That girl has always been trouble, Mom interjected. Ever since high school, she's encouraged your rebellious tendencies. I laughed. Rebellious? Because I want my own career? Watch your tone, young lady, Dad growled. I'm not a child anymore. I'm making my own decisions. Dad stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. Not while you're living under my roof. Robert, Mom whispered. The neighbors will hear. I don't care who hears. 22 years we've given you everything, and this is how you repay us? His voice echoed off the dining room walls. If you can't respect our plans for your future, then get out. I looked at Mom, waiting for her to say something, anything, in my defense. Instead, she nodded slowly in agreement. Fine, I said, standing up. I'll go. 2 hours later, I sat in Claire's apartment, a duffel bag of hastily packed belongings beside me. They actually kicked you out? Claire handed me a steaming mug of tea. Over a career choice? Yep. I took a sip, grateful for something warm. Dad screamed it, and Mom just nodded. That's messed up, Heis. Claire tucked her legs underneath her on the couch. What are you going to do now? I don't know, I admitted. Accept the scholarship, obviously. Find somewhere to live. You can stay here as long as you need, Claire said. But this isn't right. Your grandmother left you that trust fund, didn't she, for education? I froze mid-sip. How do you know about that? They told me Gran left everything to charity. Claire's eyes widened. Wait, they never told you? Your grandmother showed me the papers at your graduation party. She was so proud, said you'd have everything you needed for school and housing. That's impossible, I whispered. She died 3 months later, and Dad said there was nothing. Hazley, Claire leaned forward, her expression serious. I think your parents have been lying to you about a lot more than career plans. You're absolutely certain about this? I asked, pacing across Uncle Richard's living room. Uncle Richard adjusted his glasses, looking uncomfortable. I was there when Mother updated her will, Hazley. Margaret and Robert were furious. So my parents knew? All this time? My hands shook slightly. They knew. He sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. Look, your grandmother was very specific. The trust was for your education and future establishment. A substantial amount. How substantial? Enough to pay for any university you wanted, plus property. His eyes met mine. She didn't trust your father with it. Said he'd try to funnel it into that business of his. Which is exactly what he's been trying to do by forcing me to work there, I said, pieces clicking into place. So where's the money now? That's the question, isn't it? Uncle Richard stood, walking to his desk. The executor was Philip Bennett, family attorney. Dad's attorney? No. Uncle Richard shook his head. Mother's attorney. Your father wouldn't use him after the will reading. Too honest, I suspect. I took the business card he offered. And you think he'll talk to me? It's your inheritance, Hazley. Bennett has probably been waiting for you to come asking. My phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Vanessa. Heard about the dinner disaster your father called, coming to talk sense into you. Great, I muttered. Dad's dispatched his sister for damage control. True to her word, Aunt Vanessa arrived within the hour, perfectly coiffed and radiating disapproval. This little rebellion has gone far enough, she announced before even sitting down. Your parents are beside themselves. Hello to you too, Aunt Vanessa, I replied. Richard, she nodded curtly at my uncle. I should have known she'd run to you. Uncle Richard crossed his arms. Did Robert send you to retrieve her? Family helps family, she said primly. Hazley, this architecture nonsense needs to stop. Your position at Miller Enterprises is my father's dream, not mine, I interrupted. But let's talk about something else. Grand's trust fund, for instance. Aunt Vanessa's composure slipped momentarily. What? The money Gran left me, for education and housing. I watched her carefully. The money my parents never told me about? That's... She faltered, then recovered. That's a misunderstanding. Your grandmother's assets were distributed according to her wishes. Uncle Richard snorted. You mean according to the story Robert and Margaret have been telling? The money wasn't significant, Aunt Vanessa said dismissively. Hardly worth mentioning. Then why hide it from me? I pressed. Your parents were protecting you from disappointment, she insisted, but her eyes darted away. Besides, they've given you everything. Except the truth, I said. And my freedom. Freedom to throw away a guaranteed future? She scoffed. Your father built that company for you. He built it for himself, I corrected. And now I'm going to build something for myself. This is your influence, she accused Uncle Richard. Always the troublemaker. No, I said firmly. This is me finally seeing clearly. And tomorrow I'm going to see Mr. Bennett. Aunt Vanessa stood abruptly. You're making a terrible mistake. The mistake was trusting my parents, I replied. I won't make it again. After she left, Uncle Richard turned to me. You realize this means war with your parents. They declared war when they lied about my inheritance, I said. I'm just finally fighting back. Mr. Bennett's office was everything you'd expect from an old-school attorney. Wood paneling, leather-bound books, and a sense of permanent confidentiality. Miss Miller, he greeted me, shaking my hand firmly. I've been wondering when you might visit. You have? Indeed. He gestured to a chair. Your grandmother was quite specific about her bequest to you. I've sent the required notifications to your parents annually since you turned 18. My stomach dropped. 4 years of notifications? Yes. He removed his glasses. I assumed, given the lack of response, that you weren't interested in claiming the funds. I didn't know they existed, I admitted. Until yesterday. His expression darkened. I see. That is concerning. 2 hours later, armed with documentation and Mr. Bennett's assurances, I stood in my parents' living room. Mom appeared nervous, Dad defiant. So you've come to apologize, Dad said, arms crossed. Ready to be reasonable? Actually, I came to discuss Grand's trust fund, I replied calmly. The color drained from Mom's face. Who told you? Does it matter? I placed Mr. Bennett's folder on the coffee table. What matters is you've been hiding it from me for 4 years. Dad's jaw tightened. We were managing it for you. No, I countered. You were hiding it from me. Mr. Bennett showed me the account. Not a single withdrawal for education. Just regular transfers to Miller Enterprises. That money was invested for your future, Dad exploded. In the company you'll inherit. The company I've repeatedly said I don't want, I reminded him. You stole from me. Robert, Mom whispered. Maybe we should explain. Explain what? He snapped. That we protected her from wasting her inheritance on frivolous pursuits? Architecture isn't frivolous, I said. It's my passion. Gran knew that. It's why she left me the money. Your grandmother didn't understand the real world, Dad dismissed. We did what was necessary. No, I shook my head. You did what was convenient. For you. Hazley, Mom reached for my hand. We only wanted what's best. Don't, I pulled away. You stood by while Dad threw me out, while he stole my inheritance. You don't get to pretend you care now. We made mistakes, Mom admitted, tears forming. We're sorry, Dad scoffed. Speak for yourself, Margaret. Everything I did was for this family. No, I corrected. Everything you did was for yourself, and I'm done with it. I stood, gathering the documents. Mr. Bennett is freezing the accounts pending legal review. He's also filed a formal complaint about the misappropriation of funds. You can't do this! Dad shouted, face reddening dangerously. I'll fight this every step of the way. You'll lose, I said simply. The trust terms are clear. We're your parents, Mom cried. Please, Hazley, we can work this out as a family. Family doesn't steal from each other, I replied. Family doesn't kick each other out. Dad stepped toward me, finger pointed. If you do this, you're no longer my daughter. I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Is that a threat? I asked calmly, recording app open on my phone. It's a promise, he growled. You ungrateful little— That's enough, Robert! Mom intervened, finally finding her voice. Stop before you make things worse. Too late, I said, heading for the door. Much too late. All rise, the court clerk announced 6 months later. The judge entered and the hearing proceeded with clinical efficiency. Mr. Bennett presented the evidence. The trust documents, the financial records showing the diverted funds, the recording of my father's threats. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff, the judge declared. All funds are to be returned to Miss Miller's control with interest. Additionally, the restraining order against Robert Miller is granted based on the documented threats. Outside the courtroom, Mom approached me tentatively. Hazley, please. He didn't mean those things. He was angry. He meant every word, I replied. And so did you, when you nodded in agreement that night. I was afraid, she whispered. I've always been afraid to stand up to him. That's your choice, I said. But I'm not afraid anymore. Dad stormed past, Aunt Vanessa trailing behind him. This isn't over, he hissed. Actually, it is, Mr. Bennett interjected. Any further harassment will result in additional legal consequences. 2 weeks later, I stood with Claire and Uncle Richard in the foyer of my new home, a restored Victorian on the edge of town. Not quite a mansion, but beautiful, historic, and completely mine. This is incredible, Heiss. Claire spun around, taking in the original woodwork and high ceilings. From kicked out to homeowner in less than a year. It needs work, I admitted. But that's the fun part. I'm going to restore it myself, my first real architectural project. Uncle Richard squeezed my shoulder. Your grandmother would be proud. I got a call from Miller Enterprises yesterday, I said. Dad's lost 3 major clients since the court case. Turns out people don't like doing business with someone who steals from his daughter. Are you okay with that? Uncle Richard asked carefully. I considered the question. I didn't set out to hurt his business, but I'm not sorry it happened. Natural consequences, Claire nodded. He made his choices. The doorbell rang, a delivery of housewarming flowers from Mr. Bennett and his wife. As I arranged them in a vase, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Can we talk? I miss you. I didn't respond. Your mom again? Claire asked, noticing my expression. Yeah. I set the phone down. She wants to reconcile? And you don't? Uncle Richard asked. They had 4 years to tell me the truth, I said. 4 years to support my dreams instead of forcing theirs on me. Some things can't be undone with an apology. So what now? Claire asked. What's next for Hazley the architect? I smiled, looking around at my new beginning. Classes start next month. The restoration will take about a year. And then, I build. I create. I live my life on my terms. To new beginnings. Uncle Richard raised his coffee mug. And better foundations, Claire added. I joined their toast, feeling something I hadn't in years: freedom. To building a life that's actually mine. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own dreams? What would you have done in my place?